Having listened to those who support this bill, it seems we are talking about outlawing certain kinds of speech. I think most of us know that physically abusive behaviour of every kind is already outlawed by existing legislation, and this bill says nothing whatsoever about physical abuse. So that's not what the bill is targeting. What we are discussing is making criminals out of people for what they actually say. Clause 1 outlaws practices. Without defining those practices, it does not say electric shock therapy, which is already unlawful. In fact, it does not specify any kind of therapy, although the word therapy does mysteriously appear in the title of the bill. It simply says practices. We have to assume that the mere act of speaking to another person can constitute a practice. Certainly the legal advice that has been provided on this bill concludes that simply speaking with someone can constitute a practice. We are not talking about harmful speech. The word harm does not appear in this bill. That is not the threshold. So we are proposing to outlaw certain kinds of mere speech, including objectively harmless speech. Whose speech is the bill targeting? What words or opinions would it outlaw? Clause 1 says it is certain kinds of assumptions about gender, identity and sexual orientation. My lords, I doubt there's anyone present who doesn't, from time to time, make assumptions. The dictionary says it means taking something for granted. I wonder if the word assumption is used in any other criminal law in this very, very broad way. I'm very doubtful. The subject of these soon-to-be criminalised assumptions is sexual orientation and gender identity. If you think it is preferable for a person to identify as their biological sex, then that is the kind of assumption the bill is targeting. If you hold to historic Orthodox Christian teaching on sexual ethics, that seems to be the kind of assumption this bill is actually targeting. Clause 1.2 says that if you also must have the intention of changing or suppressing someone's orientation or identity. Suppression is the important word here. It is deliberately wide. If a mum refuses to let her trans-identifying son go to school in a dress and make up, then surely she is suppressing his gender identity. We've heard the example from Australia where the state of Victoria says not consenting to your child going on puberty blockers is suppressing their gender identity. Clause 1.3 says the penalty for making such assumptions is a level 5 fine, which we have already heard earlier is the maximum available. My lords, I do not think the public would forgive us if we passed a law which exposed parents to huge fines simply because they don't want their kids to get caught up in the social contagion that undoubtedly exists around trans issues. And the prospect of church ministers being fined for harmlessly upholding their beliefs within their churches is not one that any Democrat, liberal or otherwise, should welcome. This is not a good bill, badly conceived because it seeks to criminalise people for their opinions, and badly executed because it makes no effort to mitigate the damage to legitimate free speech and private family life. But I don't think it is possible to legislate on this without causing these kinds of problems, because those who want a conversion therapy ban want it to target opinions. It is not about abuse, it is not about coercion, it is not about causing harm. None of these words appear in the bill. It is about punishing what some people regard as wrong opinions, and that's not the kind of law any of us should be willing to go along with.